Hello everyone, and welcome to the Trending in My Life podcast, episode 45. This week, it's how to have a happy week. I've been on a staycation, and it's been my second week of that this week. And I was thinking about how to incorporate having a happy week into a regular week when I'd be working, so that I could give you some tips and tricks on how you can do that. I mean, one of the things that's made me happy this week is having a good amount of sleep. Now, it's not that I don't go to bed at a decent hour when I'm working, because I do, knowing that I have to get up at 5 o'clock to travel to work. But somehow it's a different kind of sleep when you're on vacation from work, because you just let yourself wake up whenever you want. And I've really enjoyed that, and it's given me lots of energy for the day ahead. So I thought, well, how can I incorporate that into my working week? And my tip for you is the relaxation that you do before you go to sleep. And we all know the thing about you're not supposed to have lots of electronic device time just before you're going to sleep. And it's not that easy. You know, you're setting the alarm on your phone to wake you up to go to work, and you just, you have to just glance at those Instagram messages, see what people have been up to, or you might even be checking work emails just to see what's been coming in from offices that are in different parts of the world. So all I can say to you is, if you want to do that, try and do it at least half an hour before you're trying to sleep. So that last half an hour before you're trying to sleep is to let your mind just slowly wind down and get to the point where when you lay down and close your eyes, you're actually ready for sleep. So give that a go and see if it helps. One of the things that we have a problem with during our week when we're working is stresses and pressures of work that sit in our mind long after we've walked out the office door or wherever you work. When you walk out the door, and there's always this mind trick to do where when you walk out the door you just leave it behind. It's all behind you, at the back of you, and you don't pick up that load until you walk back in the door the next morning. Just give that a go. It might help. And I know it's not easy to switch off things. I'm lucky that I have a journey to get home where I pick up my Kindle and lose myself in my Kindle, in the stories on it. And that helps me switch off whatever has been on my mind at work. And for some people it'll be listening to music or listening to podcasts as they travel, so that they can be in a different world from the one they've just left, and have that separation between work life and home life. I've talked about before how cooking seems to make me switch off. When I get home, if I cook something, if I bake something, which I used to always do on a Friday evening, then it felt like the weekend had already begun and work was so far behind me I couldn't even remember what was bothering me when I left. And so for me, doing something completely different from work, baking, cooking, and then enjoying eating whatever that is another way that I use to help me have a happy week, because it helps me separate work days from weekends so that I'm fully immersed in the weekend. So the weekend is all about enjoyment, relaxation, doing whatever I feel like. So I've had a very happy second week of my staycation, and it's been a whole mix of things because 3 times I tried to go to Greenwich and I only succeeded today. And each time that happened, it was because there were transport problems, there were delayed, cancelled trains, they were missing out the station I needed to go to. There were even trespassers on the line, which meant trains weren't running. There were so many different reasons why I couldn't get there. And today I finally got there. And it was really odd because the only reason I was up very early on a when I'm not working was because it's the day that they come and collect the garbage, and I have to open the gate and put the bin by the gate, and I have to take the lids off the big black bins so that they can pull the black bags out. Now, I can't do that the night before because of the foxes. The foxes will attack these and just spread garbage everywhere. So I had to set my alarm, and I got up at 6:30 and I made sure I did that. And then I thought, well, why don't I try giving it a go and going to Greenwich today since I'm up early. And I just went and got on a bus, and I was on a bus with a load of commuters, but there were still seats, and I got to Greenwich and then walked up the hill, and I was at the top of the hill in Greenwich by 8:30 in the morning. And the 2 times previously I tried to get there after the commute time, so I'd set off at 9:30 in the morning, and this just wasn't working. And today I'd set off really early, which made it different, and it worked perfectly. I got the filming that I wanted to do there, sort of. There was one hiccup, but yeah. But let me tell you that the days when I tried to do it and it didn't work, I just did something else. I said to myself, well, I'm not going to let that ruin the day. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to film something else. I'm going to go and see something else so that it's not been a waste of a day. I've not just been sat thinking, oh, I wish I could have gone there, blah, blah, blah. And that's another way that we can help have a happy week. Sometimes things don't go right. And going with the flow, doing that glass half full thing and thinking, oh, well, okay, I can't do that, I can't get there, but maybe I'll go here instead. That's not so bad, I could do that. There's always an alternative to wherever you were heading, whatever you were doing. You can always come up with an alternative. Have that backup plan ready, and then who knows when you'll need it. And that helps you have a happier week. Being not so rigid, not so much, well, this has to happen at this time, that has to happen at that time. Sometimes it just doesn't, and it's outside circumstances beyond your control. And the best way you can deal with that is not being stressed about it, not being upset about it, but just thinking to yourself, okay, it's no problem, I can handle this. I can do something different. And sometimes when you do something different, it's good as well. On one of the days that I couldn't get to Greenwich, I picked an area of North London, which is furthest away from where I live, that I'd had on a list of places where there was supposed to be a lot of street art. And I thought, well, I'm not going to waste the day. I will go there and have a look. And when I went there, I was completely amazed, because I walked out the station and there was street art in front of me on a wall. And to the left of me, there was hoardings around building works, more street art. To the right of me, hoardings around building works, more street art. And when I started to walk left or right, every area that I walked towards seemed to have construction going on and have these wooden hoarding boards all the way round the construction site, on which street art had been created. And Some of it was the writings kind and colours, and some of it was the picture kind, which is the kind I tend to put in my shorts. But I thought people who live here must walk down these streets and there's just art around them all the time. And it was an area of London I'd not been to before, and I really enjoyed the experience of just wandering around it and taking videos, and then coming back home on the train. And I didn't miss going to Greenwich on that day, because on that day the trains weren't running, wasn't possible. So I went with something else, which turned out to be a great experience, and I was really happy I'd done that. I got 35 clips of street art in one area, which is just incredible. And it was unexpected. There are areas of North London where I know there's a lot, but in this case I didn't realise there would be so much. So yeah, that was another thing that made it my happy week. But I've also done things like, I wanted to do some things which are purely for relaxation, and one of them was forest bathing, where you go to a woodland and you don't have anything particular on your mind, and you let yourself sort of absorb through your five senses what's there in the woodland. You touch a tree trunk, you smell the flowers or the wet earth, depending on the weather, and you use your eyes to look around. You see the sunshine glinting through the leaves on the tree canopy, things like that. And that was a day when I was going to do something else, and that didn't work. And I just thought, geographically, I knew I was near a woodland, which had a closed off tunnel, with a piece of street art in front of a closed off tunnel. So I went into that woodland to find that piece of street art, and whilst I was doing that, I suddenly thought, well, this is absolutely perfect for forest bathing. It's really relaxing, and there's trees all the way around me, and I'm walking down this path, and it was lovely. And so I got the relaxation at the same time as getting the street art, which turned out to have been the what I thought would be there wasn't there. And this is often the case when you look online, that street art gets painted over, and what might have been spectacular isn't quite so much, because it's changed. It's part of the changing face of the streets of London. So yeah, that was another thing that I had an experience of while I've been having my happy week. And there again, it's that spontaneity thing, changing your plans, doing something different if it's not working out for you, if you can't do what you plan to do. And I went on a bluebell hunt. Bluebells are protected flowers, and they grow wild in woodland areas. So I specifically went to a wood actually, where they were supposed to be growing. And when I got there, I found some, but I was expecting to find like a blanket of them, a huge area of these blue flowers, which are like a bell shape. That's why they're called bluebells. They are protected, so you can't pick them. They have a beautiful scent to them. And I've actually got some in my own garden, but I don't know, I didn't plant them, and I don't know how they got there. Whether you can actually buy bluebell bulbs and plant them and grow them yourself, because sort of some horticultural people have found a way of creating them without you taking the ones out of the woodland, which you're not allowed to do. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, I didn't find so many of them, but I was on this little adventure going to a place that I hadn't been before, and I was following some signs, and I got to the point where I thought, well, I'm on a path, but it's not heading back the way I want it to go. And I could look up this hilly bit and I could see sunlight at the top, and I thought, if I can get up there, I know that path takes me back towards the station so that I can go home. Anyway, so I, being me, I just start scrambling up this bank and I slipped over at one point and face planted the GoPro into the dirt, which wasn't a good thing. But just picked myself up and kept going. And that's another sort of thing to keep in mind, to have a happy week. It didn't upset me, that happening. It was just a hazard of scrambling up a bank. But clearly there can be times in your life when you're heading towards a goal and you're scrambling to get there, and something out of the blue happens, and you just have to pick yourself up and keep going. One of those unexpected things, but you keep working towards your goal, and you just pick yourself up and keep going and put a smile on your face, and you just keep going. You can do it. You can do it. So again, that's another trick to use, another way to keep going, to have a happy week. Because it's very easy in all of these circumstances, when things don't quite go right, when you have ups and downs, that when you're on a down, you get all maudlin and miserable and like, oh, I don't ever have any luck and blah, blah, blah. And you start dwelling on the negatives. And when you get like that, it's very hard to pull yourself out of it. Much better to try and keep on a roll with the positives in your life, and trying to keep thinking happy thoughts and making your week happy. Because even if you're working bit by bit by bit by bit, you can keep that happy going. Your train gets cancelled, but you say to yourself, well, at least I have a job to go to, and I might be late and I might have to work a bit extra, but at least I can go to that job, that, I've got my health and strength and I can get myself there, even if it's a bit late, and tomorrow the trains will run okay. And then you might be thinking, I'm not sure this is the right job for me. I'm not as enthusiastic as I used to be. I don't enjoy my work as much as I used to. And then it's like, well, okay, it's not forever. You have options. You can start looking at courses that you might like to do, which you can do remotely and will get you a little bit further towards a different career. You might go to events where you might talk to people in the career field that you want to be in, and they might offer you some advice, or you might just have an opportunity to convince someone that you could be a good part of their company. You never know when your skills can be transferable to different industries. I mean, problem solving is one of those that you can take with you anywhere, and is always an attribute that people are looking for. And when you get positive feedback on your work, and when you meet new people and talk about things you've done and stuff, any positive feedback, that keeps you in a happy mood. It makes you feel more confident. It gives you that incentive to keep going. And just like me scrambling up that hill, I could see daylight at the top. I knew that if I got to that daylight, I'd be on the right path and I could get to the station. Sure enough, I was when I got up there. And there were lots of stingers around, like nettles. And when I did fall, it wasn't in the nettles. It was just on sort of soft bark that was on the earth. So that was very positive. The camera was fine. I just switched it back on again because it had switched itself off. And even though I didn't find like zillions of bluebells, it didn't matter. I'd found some, and I realised that because they flower mostly in April and May, and we were towards the end of that time in April, that maybe they'd had their sort of full bloom time already. And it was just one of those things. We've had a very warm spring. The days in late April, early May have been more like summer. So everything is growing differently when weather gets like that. I had started my staycation going on a trip out of town, and I've just uploaded the video of that. And it was cold on the beach. And it was windy, and the wind was cold, but it was about 12°C, and like a week later it was like 30°C. And it's like the difference. But I don't regret going on that trip a week earlier, because I wanted to and I was ready to, and it was a good start to my 2-week vacation. So that didn't matter at all. And I've had to adjust going out to always having a sun hat with me, always having a big drink of water with me, I tend to wear like a light MAC over a t-shirt, because it's got long sleeves, so I don't have to worry about sunscreen, but it's very light, so it's not heavy to make me hot. But yeah, my whole way of dressing changed, and I went shopping this week. I went shopping this week and bought some sandals, because suddenly it's that time of year. And I wouldn't normally think of getting those till sort of the end of May, something like that. So it's early, but you have to go with the flow. I think it is very easy not to have happy weeks when you're working, and you just have to make them happen for yourself. And part of that is definitely a separation between work and home life. That's a really important part of keeping your sanity and having enjoyment in your own life for the hours that you don't have to work. Don't let work rob you of your home time, your family time, your relaxation time, the time that you spend with other people, with friends, with relatives, the time that gives you that balance, that offsets the hard work and the concentration and the stress. You have to have that balance, that other side of that. And it's an important part of your life, because you only have the one life, so you have to make sure you're using it to the best of your ability, so that you get to enjoy it. Well, I hope some of these tips and tricks are useful to you, and that you have a happy week, not just this week ahead, but every week. If you put some of those strategies, tricks and tips into your life, maybe they'll help you out a bit. Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and come back next time. Bye for now.